Everybody, lie down. Flight Kingdom 29 from Dubai to London takes about 7 hours, and this hijacking will unfold over those exact 7 hours. The hijacker in the floral shirt is Tom. He introduced himself as a kind, old-fashioned man, then helped the girl with her luggage to gain trust. Coincidentally, when the girl went to the bathroom, she discovered something dangerous that shouldn't be on a plane, a bullet, so she told her friend, looking quite panicked. Just then, Tom walked by, saw their tension, and leaned down to ask what was wrong. Being chatty and having helped the woman earlier, Tom gained their trust. The girl, Naomi, easily told Tom, a hijacker and stranger, about finding the bullet. See, sometimes just a little sweetness is enough to lure us into a deep pit. Tom pretended he would find the flight attendant, discuss how to handle it, but he just made up an excuse and rushed into first class. He reported to the leader that their man dropped a bullet in the bathroom, and a girl accidentally found it, exposing their plan. The leader wanted Tom to give a reason, like a special case for a military person, but what if they didn't believe it? Tom said something that got straight to the point, so the hijacking plan, 3 hours after takeoff, was ruined. The leader decided to improvise. The hijacking plan would begin in 5 minutes. The blue hat was the signal for action. Tom then wanted to reassure the girls first, so he told them the flight attendant thought it was no big deal, likely a bullet left over from lax security in Dubai. Naomi, being naive, believed it, but her friend didn't, so Tom raised his voice, using a bit of anger to temporarily quell the suspicion, but her friend kept thinking it was strange and eventually contacted a flight attendant. Any dangerous item is strictly forbidden on planes, so how did these hijackers' guns and bullets get past airport security? Of course, it was because they threatened the security officer and his family, but these hijackers were truly stupid to drop a bullet on the bathroom floor. That's extremely unprofessional. Soon after, a completely oblivious flight attendant ran over and asked what had happened. The girls thought he knew, but in reality, he knew nothing at all. Do you want me to just blurt it out, or do you want me to draw it for you? Right then, the 5-minute limit was up. Everybody, get down. The hijackers drew their guns, threatening everyone. The hijacking officially began. From economy to business to first class, there were hijackers in every cabin, so the flight attendants were quickly subdued, unable to contact captain. The hijackers began saying familiar phrases like "don't cause trouble" and "no one will get hurt." They said it once in English, then repeated it in Arabic. They also announced the wireless network was off and started confiscating phones, tablets, and other communication devices. The male flight attendant, who escaped during the chaos, had informed the captain about the hijacking, but very quickly after, he was also dragged out by the hijackers. However, it was too late. The captain already knew and confirmed there were hijackers, so he immediately reported to headquarters in Dubai, stating a security incident had been confirmed. At this point, if nothing strange happened, the hijacking was almost certainly doomed to fail, because if they couldn't reach the captain, taking over the plane would be meaningless. On the other side, two Americans, hearing Arabic, immediately panicked, spooked by the slightest thing, fearing they would do something like 9/11, taking the plane and crashing it into a capital or city. So they decided to use everything available, launching a heroic American-style counterattack. Sam, a negotiation expert, advised them not to act impulsively as the plane took off from Dubai. Just because a hijacker speaks Arabic does not mean he is necessarily a suicide bomber. So before acting rashly, it's best to understand the opponent's objective. The leader forced a female flight attendant to the cockpit door, threatening that if the captain didn't open it, she would die. Normally, even under such circumstances, the captain should not open the door, because once the hijackers controlled the plane, they could fly it anywhere and do anything. But the problem was, the flight attendant outside the door was the captain's mistress. For her sake, the captain decided to open the cockpit. The co-pilot desperately tried to stop him, but couldn't prevail over the captain. After controlling the cockpit, the hijackers immediately forced the captain to report to headquarters that the security incident was a false alarm. Specifically, it was due to some unruly drunk passengers. Control staff were half believing, half doubting, but ultimately chose to trust the captain and remove the alert. But this part actually has a big flaw. Even if the captain's mistress was threatened, opening the cockpit door was unavoidable. But when a security incident or hijacking happens on a plane, they usually send emergency code 700-500 to airport control. This way, the plane would appear as a red mark on air traffic radar, prompting controllers to take immediate action. As Sam was about to take out his hidden phone, the woman next to him asked if the Wi-Fi wasn't already off. Sam whispered, "If there's no Wi-Fi, why would they collect phones?" So he messaged his ex-wife, saying something serious was happening on the plane, but he'd be home safe. "Love you." As soon as the message was sent, the cockpit shut down the wireless network. Sam's ex-wife received this sensitive message, half believing, half doubting. Sam, a negotiation expert, was truly different. He suddenly stood up, ignoring the risk of being shot, and walked straight to the leader, saying he wanted to surrender his phone. "Just for this, I also want to offer some advice. There are 200 people on this plane. Most will obey you, but a few will surely resist and cause more trouble. I don't care about those people. I just want to go home safely, so let me assist you." To show his capability, Sam continued his analysis. Plus, your man panicked and ran to first class. The blue hat was the signal. Your accomplices all carried hygiene bags, which shouldn't be on a 3-day flight. Then the hijacking immediately occurred. So I guess this wasn't your original plan. There must have been a blunder, so you had to temporarily change it. If everything was already messed up in the first hour, you can imagine what the next 6 hours will be like. At this point, the leader understood Sam was no ordinary person, but he angrily questioned him. Do you think we're stupid? Sam immediately replied, no, not at all. I think you understand my point. I just want to help to get home safely. However, even so, the words of such a quick-witted stranger weren't enough to earn his trust. Instead, they made him wary, so he sent Sam back to his seat. Then the hijackers checked his phone, grabbed him, and searched him. Everything happened just as Sam predicted. Those two Americans still took action. A surprising shot from a hijacker immediately changed the dynamic. Sam ran over and picked up the gun that had been kicked away, but instead of being a hero, he handed the gun to the leader. I told you, I just want to go home. Because of the sensitive message Sam sent to his ex-wife. His ex-wife's new boyfriend, Danny, used personal connections to contact his ex-wife, a counter-terrorism specialist. Quite a messy relationship indeed. In short, he told this story to his ex-wife so she could use her connections to confirm if Flight Kingdom 29 had encountered trouble. Danny's ex-wife then asked counter-terrorism to call London Airport, but Kingdom 29 was still about 5 hours away from entering their airspace. Plus, for some unknown reason, the wireless network was off, preventing direct contact, so the call was redirected from the UK to Dubai air traffic control. The air traffic controller replied that it was just a false alarm, but the guy who found it suspicious earlier couldn't sit still anymore. If Flight Kingdom 29 truly had no problem, then why would someone contact UK air traffic control and then call here? So he suspected the plane might have been hijacked. As for why the captain lied, certainly because he's being controlled. His colleague countered, but the captain's voice sounded calm and relaxed. That's where the problem lied. His voice always sounds emotional. However, since he was off duty, he could only investigate privately, and the point he started tracking was that threatened female security officer. On the plane, the female hijacker punished the American for acting impulsively. Meanwhile, Sam quietly handed the leader a piece of paper. It seemed he had, to some extent, gained a little trust. The paper stated that the captain was a problem, leaving people unclear about what he meant. Then Sam explained, most people are exactly where you want them to be, except the captain. We all know that apart from takeoff and landing, planes fly on autopilot. The leader asked, so what? Sam said worriedly, meaning he could fly the plane anywhere. Sam was indeed a negotiation expert, skilled at psychological manipulation. He succeeded in making the leader pay attention to the issue he just raised. So he specifically went to the captain, asking many questions to make sure the captain wasn't secretly pulling tricks. Finally, he listened to Sam and sent his men to drag a woman from first class to the back. That woman, besides not understanding anything, also quickly spread rumors that Sam was a traitor to everyone. He sent the woman away to make room for the captain to sit there. This was exactly what Sam wanted. Sam used the plane's internal network game to send a connection request to the captain, or rather, to exchange messages. They communicated in the game. Not needing to speak made it relatively safe. Sam asked what ground control knew, and the captain replied they knew nothing yet. The captain said Iraqi air traffic control was about to contact the plane, but there would be no response because no one was in the cockpit. Sam asked what would happen, and the captain said they would contact the Iraqi military for intervention. Sam opened the map and saw the plane was about to fly over Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. And Kingdom 29. This is Baghdad air traffic control. Iraq, do you read? Over. Very soon after, Iraqi air traffic control issued a contact request. Sam stepped up again and said the captain had to answer. If they didn't answer, the military might send fighter jets to shoot them down. The leader was half believing, half doubting, then had the co-pilot answer. It failed because air traffic control would only speak to the captain. The captain isn't in the cockpit. Why isn't the captain in the cockpit? The wrong approach made the situation worse. Sam immediately intervened, forcing the captain back to the cockpit to answer. He even used the captain's girlfriend as a threat to make him stand up. The captain was embarrassed and just made an excuse, saying he'd gone to the bathroom. Plus, the plane's radio had some issues, so they temporarily got away with it. But just by how they handled that scene, we can truly confirm these hijackers are really clueless. They utterly lack control of the situation and aren't very smart. They dared to hijack a plane without any preparation. It's just unbelievable. Before leaving, the captain secretly turned a knob. In England, a mother was getting ready to take her son to school, then go to work. Since she woke up late, she lied, saying she was late because she took her son for an appendectomy. She might be 10 minutes late, 15 minutes at most. Then she politely turned on music in the car, which sounded quite good. However, she had used the son's appendectomy excuse before, so now she could only hope her bosses had bad memories. But this seemingly unreliable air traffic controller mother was the only one acting normally. After inquiring, she learned that counter-terrorism had called them, asking them to confirm the safety status status of Flight Kingdom 29. The answer from Dubai was, it was just a false alarm. A false alarm meant they had contacted once and received this result, so why was there a second call? And through counter-terrorism to ask again. If there was truly no problem on the plane, then why would that passenger go to such lengths? Contacting counter-terrorism, then them, then Dubai Air Traffic Control. What was the point of going through such a big loop? A colleague suddenly remembered, saying for some unclear reason, the wireless network on Kingdom 29 was off. Yes, for an unknown reason, the wireless network was off. This was too strange. Something was definitely fishy. So they contacted Iraqi Air Traffic Control and asked them to share their screen to confirm Kingdom 29's flight path. After zooming in, they confirmed Kingdom 29's flight path had deviated from its planned route. Moreover, it was only 3 degrees off, and the path was too straight, ruling out weather as a cause. And that was the captain's earlier trick. Therefore, UK Air Traffic Control speculated that Kingdom 29 had a security incident because before 9/11, planes frequently deviated from their routes. So now, this is monitored very strictly. Any deviation definitely means something is wrong. The captain said his plan had worked. Sam asked, "Did you change the flight path?" The captain replied, "Yes." This meant the captain followed Sam's request, collaborating with him to put on a show. Outwardly, Sam seemed to be on the opposite side of the captain, as if helping the hijackers. But it was actually to gain trust, then secretly cooperate with the captain. It must be said that a negotiation expert is truly skilled. Meanwhile, things weren't going so smoothly elsewhere. The controller went alone to find the female security officer, then found her home. On the first floor, he met the hijacker who lied about being there to clean. Then, on the second floor, he saw the security officer's entire family had been murdered, and he himself couldn't escape the disaster, dying on the spot. The true purpose of the hijacking still cannot be determined. It can be assumed that hijackings are usually not just for money, but to achieve some political goal or as a means of revenge, or it could be for a lot of money, as there are over 200 lives on the plane. Otherwise, they wouldn't have harmed innocent people and committed murder. After suspecting a hijacking incident, UK Air Traffic Control immediately contacted the counter-terrorism department, reacted quickly, and made plans, also asking air traffic control stations in many places to ask why the plane was off course. Under pressure, the captain lied, saying it was due to crosswinds, and immediately adjusted the flight path, but he overcorrected, causing the flight path to become a zigzag. This showed the captain did it intentionally to attract attention. Moreover, it was a tragedy with enough elements to threaten the entire world. At the same time, an important piece of information emerged on the plane. A retired old man speculated that the hijackers' guns were fake because he served in the Egyptian army for 30 years. His chatter attracted a hijacker to question him. Sam immediately lied that the old man missed his grandchildren, which allowed them to get by. The old man thought those guns only used blanks, so they could make noise but couldn't kill anyone. If the old man's speculation was correct, the situation would completely change, because once the guns weren't a threat, over 200 people could definitely handle the hijackers. But as a negotiation expert, Sam believed the prerequisite was that the guns truly had to be fake, otherwise many people would die. From the enemy's perspective, and considering the worst case scenario, 5 people daring to hijack a plane wouldn't fail to bring real guns. No normal person would think of hijacking a plane with fake guns. But Hugo ignored the advice and decided to risk trying. He pretended to feel unwell and wanted to go to the bathroom to throw up. The hijackers agreed but demanded the door be open and the vomit checked. So Hugo bravely went in, pretending to vomit while writing a small note. Finally, he put his fingers down his throat to leave evidence, then threw the note to the back. Female passenger discovered it and bravely picked up the note. At the same time, something happened in the back. An uncle needed insulin to get out of a dangerous situation, but when his grandson asked to get the insulin from his bag, the stressed black hijacker adamantly refused. He also threatened that anyone causing trouble would be summarily killed. Clearly, he didn't understand the saying, "If people aren't afraid of death, what good is threatening them with it?" As time passed, the leader grew more tense and ordered his men to get the weapons bag. If necessary, kill one person as a warning. Though unwilling, his men could only obey. The danger was, the female passenger searching for a bullet was discovered and questioned by a hijacker. Luckily, she was very clever and had intentionally dropped her glasses earlier. She said she was bending down to look for her glasses, thus escaping for now. After that, the female passenger signaled Hugo that she hadn't found a bullet. Not long after, the captain's use of the game for messaging was also exposed. Facing the leader's interrogation, the captain chose to remain silent. Therefore, the leader hit him hard on the head with a gun. Sam jumped up and shouted, "How stupid are you to hit the pilot?" As a result, Sam successfully drew all the hatred to himself, grappling with the leader for a few seconds, but he eventually stopped, fearing the gun was real. The leader was furious, threatening to smash his head in. He then forced Sam to smile to curry favor, a truly awkward scene. After Sam was forced to say, "Purple," the leader, amused that the joke joke went far enough, didn't act further. He also made his men turn off all screens in front of passengers to prevent communication. Hugo thought if it were him, he would have shot someone as a warning. The enemy didn't dare to shoot, proving it was only a blank. Sam's ex-wife is a physics professor. Today's lesson was about the Schrodinger's cat experiment. It means putting a cat in a box, then adding a small amount of radioactive material. The cat's probability of life or death is 50-50. Before the box is opened, the cat's living and dead states overlap and are indeterminate. Once the box is opened for observation, the state changes and yields a result. The director used Schrodinger's cat to describe the current situation on the plane. This means the bullets in the hijackers' guns could be real or fake. To know the answer, one must take a risk and act, and there are only two possibilities. Either the gun has bullets and passengers die, or it has no bullets and the robbers die. The recent situation made Sam begin to form a plan of resistance, so he asked the old man behind him how to know if the gun held blanks. The old man said he had to check the gun to know, which was quite hard. The male flight attendant then secretly ran over, saying that in economy class, some girls had found a bullet, so they just needed to say if it was a blank or not. Immediately after, Sam asked the old man to draw real bullets and blank. The old woman gave the finished drawing to Sam, emphasizing not to drag them into more danger. Sam immediately started thinking of a plan. On the other side, the plan to deal with the hijacking was being implemented. After the anti-terrorism unit investigated, Kingdom Flight 29 had a total of 216 passengers. Only one person had a serious criminal record, Ms. Lin, who was also the leader. At her ex-husband's strong request, his ex-wife at the anti-terrorism unit secretly sent him the document, and her ex-husband, Danny, truly didn't disappoint her. During the investigation, he found that including Mrs. Lin, a total of 5 passengers had completely empty information with no data. This was a match. Those 5 people were indeed the hijackers. At this point, the leader suddenly reactivated the wireless network and announced via voice message that the operation had begun. The plane is in our hand. It's your turn to act. This proves that my previous speculation was quite close to the truth. The hijacking is just a means. The true purpose is still behind it. But the hijackers themselves were also very uneasy. Because they could only leave voice messages, they had no idea if the other side was succeeding. In other words, they might just be tools or a link in some larger event. Sam's plan started almost at the same moment. The flight attendant said normally by this time they'd be preparing meals. Of course, she knew they wouldn't agree, so she emphasized she'd been a flight attendant for 15 years and thirst would only worsen the situation. Thanks to her efforts, the leader agreed to distribute water, which was exactly what Sam wanted, because once everyone started to move, their objective would have been accomplished. The flight attendant, while distributing water, secretly slipped the note she'd received to the girl. She said if it was bullet A, do nothing. If it was blank B, turn on the reading light. Very soon after, the results were in. The girls confirmed it was B, a blank. The leader asked the male flight attendant what was happening behind them. He said a passenger was crying, a little girl in seat 23B, but his real intention was to tell Sam the answer was B. The gun had blank, and this would change everything. It was time to signal the counterattack. For everyone's safety, Sam decided to act with Hugo first, after confirming the gun's status, then mobilize the crowd. The target they aimed for was Tom, the hijacker at the rear of the plane. At the same time, the nephew quietly stood up to get insulin for his dear uncle, causing an argument. But as soon as the opportunity appeared, Hugo was too scared to move, while Sam was forced to seize the moment and act. After observing and timing the moment, he moved towards Tom. The brave nephew also created a distraction and an excellent opportunity. But the problem was that the leader seemed to have not only blanks but also real bullets. Immediately after, the female hijacker noticed Sam was gone, and a passenger also took the opportunity to pick up scissors for self-defense. As for Sam, he ambushed Tom, and the two immediately fell into a close-quarters struggle. Midway, a passenger rushed in to pull them apart, making both sides struggle relentlessly, and just as chaos erupted, a mother's child disappeared. This quickly spread the chaos further. The leader had finished reloading and also rushed over. Facing Tom pointing the gun, Sam said directly, "We all know those are blank." Sam and everyone thought the hijackers only had blank, but they underestimated the enemy's resolve. This also led to the first victim appearing. The leader threatened the flight attendant to use the intercom to suppress passengers. If those resisting didn't return to their seats within 10 seconds, he would continue shooting. Faced with a life threat, everyone had no choice but to comply. At this point, we learned Sam wasn't shot. The person shot was someone else. After learning the enemy had real bullets, Sam had no choice but to give up. The hijackers dragged the body into the lavatory, causing the tension to skyrocket. It seemed this was not what the hijackers originally intended. They originally didn't intend to kill anyone. It's just that the recent situation got completely out of control, so they were forced to act. After the conflict was pushed to a climax, the black man finally saw reason. He agreed to allow the sick passenger to use insulin. Hugo was the one who planned it, but he chickened out at the crucial moment, yet he even turned to comfort the old man behind him. saying it wasn't their fault. Hearing that, the old man wished he could tear his mouth open. A member of the hijacking group sought out the leader, saying they had clearly promised not to harm innocent people. The leader helplessly said there was no other way. The situation earlier got out of control. Now, the power to act is back in our hands. He also stressed that they must absolutely obey Aga and John, follow the plan exactly. At the same time, he noticed his subordinate was injured, so he immediately told him to find a flight attendant to discreetly treat the wound. After checking, this hijacker was very badly wounded. He was bleeding heavily. It was the wound that occurred during the struggle just now. It wasn't the kind of wound that could be superficially bandaged. Sam noticed this and said he needed a doctor to treat the wound. Initially, the hijacker worried Sam would use his words to trick him, but he also feared he wouldn't survive the day. So, they followed Sam's suggestion. They announced over the intercom they urgently needed a doctor. The father of one passenger was a doctor, but his wife told him not to, fearing he'd get embroiled in trouble. So, how exactly was this hijacker injured? It was because a passenger stabbed him with scissors during the recent melee. Unfortunately, the attendant wasn't a medical professional. She alone simply couldn't hold the wound and bandage it at the same time. So, Sam volunteered to help prevent this man from dying, because in his eyes, even a hijacker was still just a human being. Helping others at this point was also, in a way, helping himself. This was Sam's intuition. Given his role as a negotiation expert, the hijacker's associates had already targeted his ex-wife. Furthermore, the hijacking had alarmed the foreign secretary, forcing her to personally take command. She demanded an immediate investigation into who these people were and what their motives were. Before a clear investigation, she would not vaguely contact the prime minister, but in the eyes of professional anti-terrorism personnel, the foreign secretary fundamentally misunderstood the seriousness of the situation. So, according to them, if she handled it this way, she could be dismissed at any moment. As the plane approached and prepared to enter Bucharest, Romania's capital, the Romanian interior minister directly contacted the British foreign secretary, demanding that the British side provide answers to the relevant question. After learning that this was a hijacked plane, Romania demanded assurances from Britain, otherwise they would take emergency measures. After all, a plane flying towards them without responding could crash anywhere, especially since it was flying directly towards their capital city. Just as the British foreign secretary thought their reaction was a bit excessive, UK Air Traffic reported that Romanian fighter jets had begun armed escort flights and would fire at any time, depending on the situation, to eliminate the threat. This time, the situation truly spiraled out of control, and tensions continued to escalate. The roar of the escorting fighter jets made everyone on the plane uneasy. The hijackers immediately ordered passengers to close all window shades because, according to their plans and contingency arrangements, they believed if they encountered this situation, they'd be fine just by silently listening to music. The subordinate believed the fighter jets might shoot them down, but the leader denied it, saying it was an act of war and they would be fine. A passenger recognized that they were NATO fighter jets, but he understood they were not there to protect but to stop them, so they had to contact the other side to avoid a tragedy. The flight attendant, not wanting to die, risked her life to act, opening the window shades so the fighters would understand. The hijackers saw their action and immediately rushed to stop them. During the struggle, they also let the fighter jets clearly see that the hijackers were armed. After the fighter jets updated the real-time situation, the matter continued to escalate. This meant before the plane reached Romania's capital, the fighter jets would likely shoot them down to eliminate the threat. The captain guessed what was happening and immediately negotiated with the hijackers, saying he was forced to contact Romanian air traffic to explain that their target was not Romania, but the UK, while the plane was flying straight towards their capital, just like a ticking time bomb. On what basis would they trust the UK instead of just shooting it down? Almost at the same time, the Romanian Interior Ministry also informed the British Foreign Secretary, saying that if the British were in their position, they would do the same. Also, the Prime Minister knew about it, while the Foreign Secretary was flustered, not knowing what to do. Ironically, just as the hijackers agreed to let the captain make contact, they discovered the headset had been damaged. It was the leader who had just angrily smashed it moments ago. If this situation continued, the plane would definitely crash. Luckily, Sam was there, which completely turned the situation around. A hijacker had just been very severely injured. Actually, Sam and the others' bandaging method had no effect. The young hijacker thought he was about to die. Sam, by his side, desperately advised him there was still hope not to close his eyes. Although this guy doubted Sam's motives, Sam truly wanted to save him. As Sam said, he had a son who was also around the same age as him. If his son were in this situation, he would certainly hope someone would help him too. After Sam's guidance, they discovered that this man's only relative was his mother, and this guy wanted to call his mother once before he died, so Sam helped him contact his mother, and also realized the network was still on. To help others is also to help oneself. That is, Sam quietly moved his hands and feet, secretly activating the voicemail function. I just need mom to know that I love you, okay? The young hijacker spoke words of love to his mother, then sent his final farewell. The reason Sam was said to have saved the plane was because he sent that recording to his ex-wife. It wasn't until this moment that his ex-wife knew something truly happened to Sam. In the audio recording of the conversation between the young hijacker and his mother, it also included his mother's phone number that Sam deliberately read out. So she immediately told the situation to her police officer boyfriend, Danny. Danny believed this was the only information sent down from the plane. Moreover, Sam was a negotiation expert, so this message certainly held clues. So he immediately told her to send the recording over. Police officer Danny and his ex-girlfriend, who was also a counter-terrorism chief, were at headquarters. They investigated and discovered the young hijacker's mother's residence, located near Hijacked, England. From this, it could be deduced that the hijackers were native English people, which also proved the hijackers were targeting England, not Romania. At the same time, Romanian fighter jets had already locked onto Kingdom Flight 29, just waiting for the command to be given to shoot it down. Fortunately, intelligence arrived in time, proving that the hijackers' target was England. Ceasefire. Copy that. As a result, the risk of the plane being shot down was removed, and the armed escort squadron also withdrew. Additionally, the male passenger's father, a doctor by profession, could not bear his inner torment, so in the end, he revealed his identity as a doctor. After checking, he determined that the young hijacker had stopped breathing. Finally, with Sam's help, he used a pen to poke into his windpipe. Thanks to that, he began breathing again, pulled back from the brink of death. After the flight attendant saw that the escort team had withdrawn, she ignored the hijacker's resistance and told everyone to open the window shades to confirm. In fact, doing that was correct. It could help everyone's hanging hearts to settle down. What's more, this action did not create any risk for the hijackers. At that very moment, the British Home Secretary received an anonymous letter. Finally, the hijackers were about to reveal their motive for the hijacking and their political demands. Thanks to Sam's assistance, the injured hijacker was temporarily saved. After that, he noticed the co-pilot's name tag. Upon asking, he learned it was the Hungarian flag, so Sam came up with a plan that could potentially completely stop the hijacking. He suspected that the injured hijacker and the leader were brothers, so he lied that if the plane didn't descend to find medical treatment, then his younger brother would die in another hour. The leader, of course, doubted if Sam's words were true or false, so he decided to find the doctor to clarify. Sam then told the flight attendant to relay the die in an hour message to the doctor. By doing so, they had successfully tricked the leader into believing it. The hijacker, who wanted to save his brother now, began to conflict with the other members, because landing in the middle of nowhere was not part of their plan. It seemed that they were also being coerced, with not much power to act freely. Sam then seized the opportunity to inform the co-pilot. The plane was about to enter Hungarian air traffic control airspace, so she needed to use Hungarian to inform the local air traffic control, and then completely stop the hijacking right here. Just when Sam's plan was unfolding exactly as he intended, the British government also received political demands, which were as follows. Before the plane landed, Aga and Zone had to be released. 2 people detained by Owen, otherwise all 216 people on Flight 29 would die. The political demand of the hijacking was to unconditionally release those 2 people. At the same time, the co-pilot had contacted Hungarian air traffic control, stating that the hijacked plane had an unscheduled landing as part of their plan because someone was injured and needed emergency medical care, and secretly expressed the demand for armed forces to come and stop the hijacking. Such an important matter, Hungarian air traffic control could not directly agree, so the news was very quickly transmitted to the UK and received full support. Hungarian air traffic control immediately arranged for special forces deployment and also agreed to allow Flight 29 to make an unscheduled landing. At the same time, thanks to the phone number that Sam had deliberately revealed earlier, the British government quickly located the residence of the hijacker's mother. However, besides not knowing anything about it, she also did not want to reveal anything at all, because she said the people in this drug trafficking gang were extremely ruthless. Anyone who stood in their way would certainly die, including her own husband. She also said the nearby residential area was all their territory, and they had been exposed. After speaking, she pretended she wanted to get tissues, but actually, the tissues were located right behind Danny, fearing implications for the plan or the lives of her son. Meanwhile, on the plane, Tom told Sam that if the plane were to make an emergency landing and break the plan, then I, you, and the families of everyone involved would all face them, because they would find everyone who stood in their way and kill them all. Sam didn't expect that his actions would also bring harm to his family, so finally, he told the leader that his younger brother did not want the plane to land. But at this moment, the injured hijacker had stopped breathing. Just as the leader was losing control in his anger, they discovered his younger brother had personally pulled out the pen used as a breathing tube. Perhaps he wanted to sacrifice himself himself so the plane wouldn't land in order to save the lives of his brother and those he cared about. So the final result was to stop the emergency landing, and the plane continued to fly. The opportunity that was so difficult to obtain just vanished into thin air. Furthermore, the Dubai police, after receiving tips from local residents, were able to locate the murder victims. Therefore, the British government also immediately received intelligence about this and confirmed that the ruthlessness of that drug trafficking gang was no idle threat. On the other side, the hijacker targeting Sam's family had arrived at his house and was coincidentally spotted by young Sam, who was there waiting for his father. A very small sound also caught the hijacker's attention, but luckily young Sam hid very well, so he wasn't discovered by him. Under that pressure, the British government decided to pretend to release Ega and John. Before leaving, they also threatened that if anyone dared to block their way or follow them, then people would start to die. But the British government could not simply let them go for real, so they attached a GPS to the off-road vehicle and secretly sent people to follow it the whole way. They also made arrangements to block every route they could use to escape, preventing them from disappearing. However, this kind of obvious tailing made them extremely uncomfortable, so they stepped forward, left a phone behind, and warned them once more, if you break this agreement, then people will start to die. True to their word, they immediately contacted their subordinates on the plane, demanding that within 5 minutes, a hostage must be killed and a photo sent to them. Sam noticed the situation was not good and rushed to ask what was happening. After learning the situation, he stated he understood the hijacker's difficult position, but there was no need to kill any more passengers. So he decided to use the body of the female passenger who was accidentally killed earlier to cover it. Sam and everyone else were forced to take charge of the photos. Then Ega and John sent the photo of the killing to the surveillance team, so the team had to stop their vehicles and couldn't follow. As for Sam, after a deeper understanding of the current situation, he judged that they didn't know what had happened below. But what if the other side kept demanding bodies from the plane? So they decided it was time to launch a counterattack. At the same time, the drug cartel found a reporter with a weakness. They revealed the yet-to-be-announced plane hijacking to him, then threatened that if he didn't release this exclusive news within half an hour, his dirty laundry would be spread everywhere. But for reporters, this kind of story is often something they long for. On the other side, Sam's group began to quietly pass notes. They used a water bottle with "Prepare for battle" written on it, then passed it back so more people would know the plan. As for Ega and John, their path was blocked. It could have been unintentional, or it might have been pre-arranged to buy time, so they threatened the government again, saying this would only cause more deaths. Concurrently, little Sam boldly made his way downstairs and used a movable old-fashioned landline phone to contact police. Since he couldn't speak loudly, he dialed 55, representing danger. He also learned from a TV program that the plane hijacking had been exposed, which proved that the adult Sam was truly in danger. Ega and John suddenly turned in another direction, and through GPS, they believed it was the way to a nearby airport, but that location was already secured by special forces. Although the surveillance vehicle was forced to stop, but the drone continued to follow them in real time. Mid-route, the car paused for a few seconds in an obscured forest, then continued to move towards the airport. At this moment, the government meeting found itself in a dilemma. The cabinet believed they couldn't let terrorists simply escape, but the foreign minister argued they couldn't allow more deaths. However, the exposed hijacking news forced the government to demonstrate a tough stance, so special forces quickly moved out and arrested the drug traffickers. But they suddenly discovered these two had been swapped. Ega and John had truly swapped places in the small forest, then got into a pre-hidden car to escape the scene, and simultaneously sent a message, "Act now," on the plane. When the resistance information was passed, everyone prepared to stand up and fight back, until one passenger, being too scared, refused to join, causing the hijackers to see and expose the plan early. Coincidentally, at that exact moment, the hijackers also received a second kill order. Sam proactively stepped forward and claimed the plan was his, but because Sam once saved his brother, he chose to execute a different person, just as he decided to execute a female passenger. Sam immediately intervened to stop him. During their close combat struggle, a shot was accidentally fired. The second wave of people, arranged by the drug cartel, began to act. Just as the situation grew more chaotic, the second hijacker, upon receiving orders, immediately shot and killed the captain, then single-handedly took control of the cockpit. She turned off the autopilot and directed the plane straight towards London, England. It was estimated that, like other people, the family of this female passenger had been threatened. Furthermore, even the leader had no idea who she was. At this point, apart from the leader, all the remaining hijackers were subdued by angry passengers. After persuading him, Sam managed to get a real loaded gun from the leader, because even if he continued to resist and kill a few more people, he would ultimately be subdued or killed by other passengers. The agitated passengers pointed guns and shot at Sam, but those were blank bullets. Only the gun in Sam's hand had live ammunition. He declared that the current plane hijacking was over, but a more important issue still needed to be resolved. UK Air Traffic Control found that after the plane flew over Hungary, it no longer had enough fuel to fly to the designated landing airport. Sam once again confirmed that the hijackers didn't know the woman in the cockpit, so they could only tie up the hijackers first and then figure out another way. Moreover, the British government discovered this was a short-selling market attack. Beyond rescuing the two criminals, Aga and John, the plane hijacking also had another goal: to make money. Because they intentionally let a financial blogger reveal the hijacking on Twitter, this caused Kingdom Airlines stock fall drastically. The criminals who bet on the falling stock would make a lot of money. At the same time, Danny learned from Sam's ex-wife that there truly was a suspicious call aimed at Sam's home address. So, Danny quickly started taking action. Plus little Sam had called the police, so the police came to inquire, but the hijacker cleverly used cleaning as an excuse to send them away. Little Sam was also caught in the act, only able to watch Sam on TV trying to survive in desperation. At the same time, the British government dispatched armed fighter jets as escort. Before the plane could fly to London, high-ranking officials were forced to make a decision whether to shoot down the civilian plane before it arrived, or continue to observe, waiting for a miracle to appear, or allow a tragedy with even more sacrifices to occur. The passengers had originally intended to distribute phones downstairs. The leader stated if they did that, allowing them to contact their families and post online, people on the ground would know the plane had lost control. So Sam decided to contact air traffic control alone to understand the situation. He lied, claiming the plane was still under their control, but the controller saw through it, so he could only honestly admit that the plane was currently controlled by a female passenger, and they could not intervene with its flight path. The foreign minister couldn't decide to shoot down the civilian plane. A cabinet minister, however, said releasing the two wanted criminals had made him lose face. If someone needed to take responsibility, he would. That would still be better than another 9/11 incident. The lives of over 200 people on the plane could be decided in front of their eyes with just a few words. Finally, the foreign minister bravely snatched the phone, proposing not to shoot down the civilian plane, but to wait for a miracle and evacuate the public. As for responsibility, she said she would bear it. So, the armed escort flight team temporarily pulled back to observe. Sam and everyone else were forced to find a way to prevent tragedy. For every point the stock dropped, they earned another 18 million. Iga wanted to make even more money until the plane actually crashed, but John believed that if they stayed any longer, they'd be caught by the police. Seeing his partner was only focused on money, he thought he should act first. So, he directly dealt with the other person, then quickly left the area. In other words, the female passenger on the plane was waiting for their cancellation order. She would certainly never receive a reply. To handle the female passenger in the cockpit, Sam temporarily hung up the phone. This made the British government even more anxious. However, through Danny, they could confirm once more that Sam was on their side, because Sam's family had been cornered by the hijackers. After getting their phones, passengers on the plane contacted their families one by one. Some were even saying their goodbyes. Sam had always been trying to establish contact with the female passenger. In just a few more minutes, the plane would run out of fuel and crash. At this moment, the severely tormented female passenger proactively contacted Sam, saying she had no other choice but to kill the captain. Now there was no turning back. Before that, Sam assured her that she was only coerced and wouldn't be held responsible. He also frankly told her that whether the plane crashed or not, the drug cartel would still kill her daughter and leave no trace behind. So he hoped she could at least save the people on the plane and save herself. Finally, he successfully entered the cockpit and gained her trust. At the same time, Danny also arrived to rescue little Sam. He used a fire alarm as an excuse, lying that the plane might crash, requiring evacuation. Then he ambushed the two hijackers and successfully rescued little Sam. Originally, the female passenger had to contact UK Air Traffic Control directly to adjust the best landing location and confirm the plane's exact status, but Sam realized the female passenger was extremely unstable due to overwhelming fear. Therefore, acting as a negotiation expert, he requested his government guarantee that there would be absolutely no criminal prosecution for the female passenger. With this, her emotions calmed down and she could cooperate normally. At this point, the plane's fuel was almost depleted and even its electricity was running out. Because of this, they could only activate the auxiliary backup power. Their only option was to fly to a nearby military airport for an emergency landing, although the 500-meter runway was not long enough for this landing, but they had no other choice, so they had to take a gamble. With the efforts of the flight attendants, all passengers assumed the brace position, waiting for luck to visit or a punishment from the sky to fall. Finally, thanks to everyone's collective efforts, they landed successfully, so the firefighters went to put out fires and the arresting officers went to make arrests. As for the rest, all passengers finally escaped from this terrifying plane. Sam also completed his mission mission and simultaneously managed to save himself. The only unfortunate thing was that the mastermind behind the terrorist attack managed to escape.